Well, hey everybody, this is Robert and welcome to Outbreak News TV. And today I'm going to be doing another quiz on parasites. And this will be strictly parasite unknowns. I'll be showing you a photograph, um, giving you a verbal description, and then I'll let you know what it is and see how many you get right. And part of the correct answer is the correct stage of the parasite. Also, for example, if it's in a pathogenic amoeba, is it the cyst stage or is it the trophozoite stage? So that's what I'm looking for. Um, we'll see how it goes. I had some comments on the last one and a desire for some more. And hopefully, this will help you if you're a medical laboratory scientist or some other kind of student that has to study diagnostic parasitology. I hope this helps a little bit. So I have 20 of them on this video. And before I get started with that, I just want to remind you to subscribe to the channel, Outbreak News TV. Like the video, comment below, and share it with your friends. If you are a student and you are studying parasitology with a bunch of other people, share it with them and let them see. Let's see how they do with it. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with Parasitology Unknowns. And number one, and I'll go ahead and give a description. Now, this stage of the parasite has a single nucleus, which has a centrally placed karyosome, a uniformly distributed peripheral chromatin. The cytoplasm has a granular or ground glass appearance, and oftentimes you may see ingested RBCs. What do you think? I'll give you a few seconds. So this is Entamoeba histolytica / Entamoeba dispar, the trophozoite stage. Anytime you have ingested RBCs, you know it's a pathogenic trophozoite amoeba. And the key characteristics are, of course, the nucleus with a central karyosome and even peripheral chromatin. All right, let's go on to the next one. A little bit of a description. This parasite we see is oval, small, with a size range of about 30 to 50 microns. On the inner membrane are two poles, from which 4 to 8 polar filaments spread out between the two membranes. The oncosphere has 6 hooks. What do you think? All right, so the answer to this is Hymenopsis nana egg. So this is the dwarf tapeworm. And anytime you hear oncosphere, that will indicate a egg from several of the cestode family, Tania, Hymenopsis, for example. All right, going on to number 3. Let me describe it for you. This stage of the parasite is oval to ellipsoid, measures 8 to 19 microns. Mature parts of this stage have 4 nuclei, while immature ones have 2. Nuclei and fibrils are visible in both iodine-stained wet mounts and trichrome-stained smears. All right, give it a shot. All right, the answer to this is, of course, Giardia duodenalis, also known as Giardia lamblia and Giardia intestinalis, and this is the cyst stage. This differs from the trophozoite stage, which is kind of pear-shaped, bilaterally symmetrical, and you can see the visible flagella. So that's Giardia. I'm not sure what most people call it. A lot of places labs still call it Giardia lamblia. All right, going on to number 4. Now, these eggs are broadly ellipsoidal, operculated, and measure 130 to 150 microns long by 60 to 90 microns wide. The eggs are embryonated when passed in feces. The abo-opercular end of the parasite often has a roughened or irregular area. Okay, a couple seconds. This is one of the biggest eggs that you may find in stool. And this is Fasciolopsis buski, the egg. Now, this is sometimes difficult to differentiate from a related species, Fasciola hepatica. This is there are some differences. For example, the roughened or irregular area, and it's slightly larger too. Okay, number 5. Let's get a description of this. This stage of the parasite are thin-shelled, colorless, and measure 60 to 75 microns by 35 to 40 microns. What do you think? Okay, the answer is it's a hookworm egg. It could be from the species Ankylostoma duodenale or other Ankylostoma species, or the Old World hookworm, and Necator americanus, the New World hookworm. And the egg, you cannot differentiate the genus and species based on the appearance of the egg. With this type of parasite, finding the larval stage in feces can also be diagnostic. All right, next parasite, excuse me, next parasite. Okay, the stage of this parasite is 50 to 55 micrometers by 20 to 25 micrometers. They are barrel-shaped, thick-shelled, and possess a pair of polar plugs at each end. They are typically unembryonated when passed in stool. Couple seconds. I think we went over this on the last quiz. This, of course, is Trichuris trichiura, the egg. And this is AKA the whipworm. All right, next parasite, number 7. This stage of the parasite are large, about 114 to 180 microns long by 45 to 70 microns wide. They have a characteristic shape with a prominent lateral spine near the posterior end. The anterior end is tapered and slightly curved. When this stage is excreted in stool, they contain a mature mericidium. All right, go ahead and see what you got. This is pretty classic, and most people watching should have this one pretty much in the bag. And the organism is Schistosoma mansoni eggs. Of course, one of the causes of schistosomiasis, one of the most common and devastating parasites globally. All right. Next one. Maybe a little hard to see because it's faint, but let me give you a description in number 8. This stage of the parasite is 180 to 380 microns long, with a short buccal canal, an esophagus that's divided in 3 sections, extending 1/3 of the body length, and a prominent genital primordium. A few seconds. Okay. This is Strongyloides stercoralis. This is the diagnostic stage, the rhabdidiform larva. And this is also known as threadworm. Okay, let's go to the next parasite, number 9. Number 9. These I should have said that. This stage of the parasite ranges from 80 to 120 microns long by 45 to 70 microns wide. They are yellow-brown, ovoid or elongate, with a thick shell and often asymmetrical with one end slightly flattened. At the large end, the operculum is clearly visible. The opposite, or the abo-opercular side, is thickened. All right, what do you think? The operculum is very, very noticeable. And it is Paragonymous westermanni egg. Paragonymous westermanni is also known as the Oriental lung fluke. And the egg can be found in stool, but it can also be found in sputum. Okay, the next one. And you have to, there's like two blobs of fecal material, and it's in between the two of them. It's kind of faint because this is just a regular wet prep. So it's a little harder to see, but let me give you some clues. This stage of the parasite are large, 25 to 30 microns. They have a typical ellipsoidal shape, and when excreted, they are immature and contain one sporoblast. Give you a few seconds. Okay, and the unknown parasite is Cystoisospora belli oocyst. Used to be known as Isospora belli. This, you don't see this very, very often, and it can be stained with acid fast. Next parasite, number 11. Now, this stage of the parasite is usually spherical, but may be elongated and measure 10 to 35 microns. Mature parts of the stage typically have 8 nuclei, but can have as many as 16 or more. The nucleus, karyosomes are usually eccentrically located. Peripheral chromatin is present and often coarse, granular, and irregular in appearance. The cytoplasm may contain diffuse glycogen. Chromatoid bodies, if present, are usually splinter-like with pointed ends. All right, what do you think? Okay, what we have here is an Entamoeba coli cyst. Now, Entamoeba coli is a non-pathogenic amoeba. However, like some of the parasites we may be looking at today, while they may be non-pathogenic, they are you need to report them because they could be an indicator of food or water contamination, and which means there could be a pathogenic parasite in for that patient also. So keep that in mind. Next one, number 12. A typical form of this parasite has a large subterminal or terminal kinetoplast, a centrally located nucleus, an undulating membrane, and a flagellum that runs along the undulating membrane, leaving the body at the anterior end. It's about 12 to 30 microns in length, and as you can tell in the photograph, it is in a blood smear. Give me a few seconds. Okay, this parasite is a Trypanosome cruzi tripomastigote. And of course, this is the causative agent of Chagas disease. This differs from related species in the genus Trypanosoma brucei, the cause of African sleeping sickness, as it's more C-shaped. That's one of the key characteristics. And also location, right? Trypanosoma cruzi would be more likely Latin America, while Trypanosoma brucei will be strictly parts of Africa. All right, on to number 13. Again, another blood smear, right? The parasites here are pleomorphic, which means they vary in shape and size. They can be vacuolated and do not produce pigment. And sometimes you may see a tetrad form. What do you think? Okay, and we do see some tetrad forms here. And the answer, of course, is something we went over in the last video, but a little bit differently. And that's Babesia microti. This is the tick-borne parasitic infection. If you don't see, a lot of times if you don't see the tetrads or the vacuoles, it can be easily confused with malaria, Plasmodium. Number 14. Okay, fertilized and unfertilized stages of this parasite are passed in the stool of the infected host. The fertilized stage are rounded and have a thick shell with an external mammillated layer that is often stained brown by bile, as in the case of this picture. But in other cases, the outer layer may be absent, also, which is known as decorticated. Fertile stages range from 45 to 75 microns in length. And there's another stage called unfertilized, which are usually elongated and larger than the fertile ones, up to 90 microns in length. Their shell is thinner and their mammillated layer is more variable, either with large protuberances or practically none. Okay. This is pretty characteristic of a fertilized mammillated of the Ascaris lumbricoides. This is a fertilized egg. Number 15, and I want you to pay attention to the red arrows. Now, parasites are rounded and measure 4.2 to 5.4 microns in diameter. Sporozoites are sometimes visible inside the oocyst, indicating that sporulation has occurred. Staining of this parasite can be variable. What's your guess? And just before I reveal the answer, the blue arrow is a budding yeast. So you wouldn't confuse that. But the red arrow are Cryptosporidium species oocyst. And I believe that photograph is a trichrome stain. It's also can be stained on acid fast, and it can be seen on wet mounts to the well-trained eye. Okay, 16. This stage of the parasite measure 50 to 60 microns by 20 to 30 microns. Very characteristic. They are transparent, elongate to oval in shape, and slightly flattened on one end. A lot of people call it the loaf of bread appearance. They are usually partially embryonated when they are shed. Give you a few seconds on that. I think most people with any parasitology experience will know that this is Enterobius vermicularis, and that's of course the egg. This is also known as the pinworm. And while it's possible to find it in stool, it's most often found on cellulose tape preparations or the pinworm paddle, where they take the sticky end and press it against the perianal folds in the middle of the night. The eggs will stick to the cellulose tape, and then you examine that under the microscope. All right, let's move on. 17. This parasite is lemon-shaped with a small projection at the anterior end. The single nucleus lies near the center. Give you a few seconds. All right. Did you get this one? Chylomastix messinelli cyst. Lemon-shaped is always a key description of this cyst. And this, like some of the others we talked about, this is a non-pathogenic trophozoite. 18. Most of the trophozoites of this parasite are binucleate. Some only have one nucleus, though. The nucleus typically has a fragmented karyosome with discrete chromatin granules, and a thin nuclear membrane could be visible. What do you think it is? And the photograph that I put up there is very, very characteristic. And if you guessed Dientamoeba fragilis trophozoite, you are correct. There is a cyst stage, but it's rarely seen. It looks like an amoeba because the trophi, the flagella are not usually visible, and this can be pathogenic. Okay. Next, 19. Okay, this stage of the parasite vary from nearly spherical to ellipsoidal in shape and measure 5 to 20 microns. It contains a single nucleus that is not visible in either unstained or iodine-stained wet mounts. With permanent stains such as trichrome, a nucleus containing a large, it contains a large, usually eccentrically located karyosome. An important diagnostic feature of this species is the presence of a large, compact vacuole of glycogen in the cyst stage. Although this mass can be visible in unstained wet mounts, in iodine-stained preparations, it takes on a darker reddish-brown color. The glycogen vacuole does not stain with trichrome, but is visible as a well-defined mass. And I kind of gave this one away, so I'm going to move right on to it. This is Iotamoeba bushlii, and of course that's the cyst stage. And that dark mass, that's the glycogen vacuole that took up the iodine in the wet mount. Very, very characteristic. And this also is one of the non-pathogenic protozoas that we've talked about. And I'm going to close with number 20. And let's give a description. This stage of the parasite is sheathed, measures 230 to 250 microns long in stained blood smears. The tail is tapered and nuclei extend to the tip of the tail. What do you think it is? Okay, there's like 3 or 4 of these parasites, these microfilaria, that kind of have similar appearance, but there's differences, very key differences. And this is Aloa loa microfilaria, the African eyeworm, from the African eyeworm. And of course, the key characteristic with this was that the nuclei extend to the tip of the tail. Well, so that's today's quiz. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd like to know how you did. Let me know how you did below. If there's other types of quizzes or other things, just let me know, and I'd be very interested in possibly putting something together. And I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time on Outbreak News TV.